Now, I don't know about you. I don't think we have ever thought about this being an ideal job that you'd want to have, an ideal job that you come out of college wanting, or high school, or just in your life ever thinking, oh, I want that job. And what job do you think I'm talking about? I am talking about being a fired head coach in the college football world nowadays. Is your reputation ruined in the eyes of possibly millions of fans? Yes. Is your reputation fully ruined, though, because later down the road, maybe you can change those opinions with maybe the next coach isn't that great. Maybe you never reached the height of the program like you did with that coach. Maybe you go and take another job and build up another program and finally get it done there. Well, I can tell you this, you can do that. You can change your reputation. Or you can go to a beach somewhere and say, yes, you are getting $40 million not to work anymore. Please leave, pack your things. I'm sorry. Here's $40 million. Just stop working for us. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of College Football Under Review. Like always, it is a show made by a football fan for football fans everywhere. And today is our Week 8 preview episode. If you think things are a little bit different, it's because they are. See, Spring Hill Homecoming Week. That's where we're heading after this show tomorrow. We're going to be heading there, enjoying all the festivities. So even though it's not theoretically Friday, maybe you're listening to this on Friday. And what do you do on Fridays? Well, if you're part of the Spring Hill College family, you purple up. So that's what we've done today with the show graphics. We've purpled up. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps us know that you are enjoying the content and helps us out. And it shows that you want to be a part of the Under Review community. But before we take things under review, let's take a look at 38 Hot Tubs. 38 Hot Tubs is family-owned and American-built, supplying Viking tubs that feature a high-quality material and superior components, ensuring that every aspect of the hot tub is designed to last for years to come. When it comes to relaxation, recovery, and overall well-being, few things compare to the soothing experience of a high-quality hot tub. And for Rob Abel, it's all about helping people improve their health and quality of life, whether you're an athlete looking for muscle recovery or someone who simply wants to unwind after a long day. Soaking in a hot tub can provide numerous benefits. The ideal combination of warm water and hydrotherapy jets can ease tension and lower cortisol levels to help combat anxiety. A hot tub even promotes better blood flow, which leads to better muscle recovery, reduced soreness, and improved flexibility combined with overall cardiovascular health improvements. Even a nice time soak can improve sleep quality by relaxing the body and mind before bed. So if you're interested in experiencing the therapeutic benefits of a Viking spa, reach out to Rob Abel today. If you mention this ad to Rob, your journey to relaxation and wellness starts with a $200 discount off one spa, $600 for an order of two. 38 Hot Tubs. Whether you're looking for relief from sore muscles, a way to enhance your fitness routine, or simply a place to relax with family and friends, Rob is here to help you find the perfect hot tub to fit your needs. So, with that out of the way, thank you, 38 Hot Tubs. Let's take a look at college football and take it under review. And so our first big game that we kind of have under the under review microscope, as you would put it, is at 11 a.m., number 10 LSU at number 17 Vanderbilt. And as always with these times, it is Central Time Zone in mind, because Central Time Zone is the best time zone. So LSU is coming off of another subpar performance from their offense in the South Carolina game, and their defense having to bail them out of another close game. They were only able to get 20 points again in the game against South Carolina, which Vanderbilt had more, even though, yes, I know that Lenore Sellers went out after a targeting call in that game. They still were very much in control. So it tells me that Vanderbilt's offense is a lot better than LSU's. And that's truly the fact. They have been outperforming LSU all season in almost every category every Saturday. But the stat that Brian Kelly has really been most upset with this season for the LSU Tigers is his rush game. And what do the Commodores do the best? They run the ball. The Commodores' average rush yards outdo the Tigers, even though LSU had a season high of 166 yards last week. Yeah, Brian Kelly, how's that offense? Maybe you should have asked that question a couple of weeks ago. But coming off of that South Carolina game, Garrett Nussmeier apparently had a small ankle injury and has been playing through this season with an abdominal strain. I don't know if that's, the coach just protecting his player or whatever, but one thing that has been good for the Tigers this season is the defense. The defense has truly come up in big ways, especially when it comes to mediocre quarterbacks. You can have your thoughts on whatever for DJ Lagway. He was able to beat Texas and actually played competently, even though DJ Lagway threw about 4 to 5 interceptions in that LSU game. So it's the defense can really take advantage of someone who is not prepared to play against them. But I think Diego Pavia is ready to play against them. I think that they have a lot better job this season at controlling the line of scrimmage. They are still dominant in the time of possession stat, which is huge. And their rush is just could possibly bully the Tigers defense, because I think the Tigers defense is so much better against the pass. So it's going to be very hard for them to adjust to these, how do I put it, these improvisational shovel passes or small 2-yard chip passes that Diego Pavia can make. And I think it's going to force them to have a linebacker in the quarterback spy position a lot of the game. But I think the biggest stat for this game that can tell us who the winner will be without watching the game is the one I brought up earlier. It's time of possession, because when Vanderbilt's offense is able to convert on downs and run effectively, the opportunities for the opposing offense is limited. And I don't think Garrett Nussmeier really is a great quarterback to make the most of limited possessions, limited abilities. And because of that, I think Vanderbilt will win this game. I'm choosing Vanderbilt. I think that they have learned. They've had a bye week after the Alabama game to really adjust, because I think that Alabama team has a very good defense. Alabama fan talking. Yes, but when we look at what happened in that game, the Alabama defense did everything that they didn't last season and just completely dominated them in every aspect that we said Alabama needed to. So I think Vanderbilt going into this game, yes, it's going to be facing a much tougher defense, but I think they are going to have adjusted, and they've had 2 weeks to work on those adjustments. So give me number 17, Vanderbilt. I think this is where we start to see some chinks in Brian Kelly's defensive armor, and he gets a little bit more frustrated, and oh no, the Tigers' season could be in jeopardy already, and we're not even to November. But our next game, our game of the week, coming into week 8, 2:30 p.m. Number 5, Ole Miss at number 9, Georgia. Ole Miss has a tall task of coming into Athens, because they haven't won there since 1996, and Georgia on the other side really wants to restart that home win streak that they had before Alabama beat them. Both of these teams are really coming off ugly performances against unranked opponents. Ole Miss had a dogfight against Washington State University, and Georgia in the first half of the Auburn game looked like they were about to get absolutely curb stomped. But both of those games ended up ending in their favor. So I think both squads had a taste of rat poison. I think both squads are going to come into this game firing on all cylinders. But I think the biggest difference between these two teams is quarterback play. One of our favorite names to say, Trinidad Chambliss, has been lighting up the field, stat sheet, and opposing defenses. And, I mean, we just know he's versatile in the run. He's versatile in the pass. He has had multiple games over 500 yards rushing and passing, and he has been electric in the red zone. But one other player I really want to talk about, because we can go on and on about how great Trinidad Chambliss is, but Gunnar Stockton, he's the guy we need to look at. He has been more of a pro-style quarterback, managing the games under offensive coordinator Mike Bobo. I know that's a very sore subject, very sore name for some Georgia fans who dislike Mike Bobo. But I think that Gunnar Stockton really needs to step up his game. He really hasn't had anything crazy statistic-wise, kind of like not getting nearly around the 300 passing yard mark. And I think that's really going to hurt them, because I think that this Georgia defense is going to get destroyed by Ole Miss based on Alabama being able to win inside the pocket against them, and Auburn was able to poke holes in Georgia's defense in last week's game. I think that Georgia's secondary has not been doing great against the pass, and especially in the middle of the field, they seem to let a lot of plays happen that really just shouldn't, and you kind of look at yourself going, whoa, how did we just do that? But it just is starting to feel normal now in this season. But I think on the opposite side, yes, Trinidad Chambliss, he has been doing so great this season, but this is actually going to be his first starting road game. And it just so happens to be College game day. So you're going to have a lot of festivities around you. You're going to have all the hoopla and the whatnot. And is the hoopla and whatnot going to get in your mind? It just might. I've been saying it all the time that Ole Miss, I feel like, is a good team, but when we talk about the AP poll, Ole Miss ranked at 5 feels more like an underdog, and they don't look, I don't think that they deserve that number 5 spot. And in this game, they look like an underdog. Vegas agrees, favoring Georgia. Last time I checked, 7.5 points, and I think Georgia's going to win this game. I think they're going to kind of get the momentum back this season. I think they are going to come in hungrier than Ole Miss. Ole Miss had some of the rat poison, but I just feel like this Georgia team is going to find a way to win. It's just like life. Kirby's going to find a way to win. And then that takes us to the 6:30 p.m. game. And this game, if you looked at your calendar, you noticed it's the third weekend in October. So what does that mean? It means number 11 Tennessee is going to be at number 6 Alabama. Now, for a rivalry that was once one-sided for 15 years, has now been introduced to parity, and it's returned. And these teams have traded wins the last 3 years with the home team taking the win. But both teams are really in danger of having 2 losses on the season and dangerously close to being removed from the playoff conversation. This is a very big game for both Tennessee and Alabama. Alabama, on the one hand, doesn't have a loss in the SEC yet. So right now, they are kind of leading the conference race for the conference title game. Tennessee has that one loss to Georgia, but that Georgia team is a top-ranked team. So if they can come in and beat Alabama, they're still going to be ranked, and who knows, maybe it would be favorable for them not to be in the SEC championship game. But Tennessee, with another loss in the SEC, would almost for sure boot them out of the SEC title game. And it would mean that they would have to win out if they want to make the playoff and hopefully be one of these 10-2 SEC teams or teams in the nation in general that are kind of looking at a backdoor in, but still should be comfortable. So I think Tennessee is 100% coming into this. It's a rivalry game. Both of these teams are going to be going head-to-head, going at it. But with the fact that the series has been traded based on whoever the home team is, shows you how much of an advantage it is. And I think that advantage is going to help Alabama seriously. Alabama, this defense for Alabama really has been overshadowed by the Ty Simpson Heisman talk that's slowly creeping in. And week-to-week performances are kind of bolstering everyone's thought process on Ty Simpson being in the Heisman talk. And I think that this defense should be the difference maker. How do I say this? In the game, as the Tennessee offense 100% has more turnovers committed than Alabama, and that's going to be one of the biggest stats in the game, turnovers and penalties, because Alabama so far has been doing well, being disciplined on the line of scrimmage, holding, and all of these things that they were bad last year and just killed their defense, having to keep them out there. And so I think Alabama at home, they're going to have the home field advantage. It's going to allow them to be more disciplined. They're going to continue playing sound football because they haven't been turning the football over on offense. But what's one thing that is always scary? It's rushing. And the Tennessee offense has been out-rushing Alabama by around an average of 90 yards per game. Alabama has to shut down the run once again. Can they do that? I don't know. We'll see, because I think Josh Heupel is one of the great offensive masterminds in this game. He's showing us showed us this season, let me say that, in Joey Aguilar, just absolutely lighting up teams. But I think this Alabama secondary is going to be able to handle them. But I think that rush is going to give them severe problems. But outside of all the rush problems, I think that number 6 Alabama is going to come away with this win. I think Kalen DeBoer knows he can't lose this game, in the sense of how will everyone feel about the team moving forward. Because all it takes is one bad loss, and Alabama fans are ready to chomp at the bit to see you fired. If you don't believe me, after week 1, everyone was ready for us to pay his buyout and be a fired head coach and have one of the best lives he could live. But no, he's not done in Alabama. And then that takes us to, and one thing I just have, before we go on to the next game. You know what? Never mind. I was going to say some slander about Tennessee, but we're non-biased here. We're going to keep it for Saturday. 6:30 p.m. Number 20, USC at number 13, Notre Dame. I think that it's very sad that we haven't seen or heard any news about the future of this rivalry game, and I really hope that there is some of that put to rest, or at least some hint of these teams playing in the future, because I don't like one of the best traditions in college football to just fade away because of the new playoff system. Maybe the coaches don't like each other, but we need to get some news on what these teams and programs are going to do moving forward, because this has been such a big game and it has produced so many classics in the history of college football. And a lot of times it really has determined who was the national championship back in the olden days. But last week, Lincoln Riley for USC was able to gain a ranked win, which was huge for his future at USC and gave fans a really big sigh of relief, as I think they're now able to think and start conversating and saying that maybe the program is on the right track. Because for a while there, it felt a little scary. Lincoln kind of had 2 years and the team wasn't where he wanted it to be. He was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Now give me the restart. And so he said, give me more time, babe. I promise I'm a change. I'm a change, babe. I promise. I promise. Well, maybe he actually is changing. Maybe he is changing, because before this, he wasn't. And when I say before this, before beating a ranked Michigan, he really hadn't had a lot of success against ranked teams at USC. So it was very big of him to get that. Now, that could be this kind of whole thought of, are they back? Are they back? Could be derailed, though, by the 13th ranked Fighting Irish, who desperately need the win so they can have somewhat of a chance to make the playoffs. Because obviously with a loss, there would be a 100% chance that they're not going to make the playoffs. The Notre Dame defense has been able to get their footing back after having a great performance against what teams? Oh, yeah. I'm going to go out and say it. Mediocre Power 4 teams and a mediocre Boise State team. After adjusting from their first 2 losses, they have only allowed opponents to score 27 points in those last 3 games. The 2 offenses should really be on display, with both Mavia for USC and Carr for Notre Dame really having similar statistics in the passing game with turnovers, pass yards, and completions. But I think that USC under Lincoln Riley has the superior offensive numbers as a whole, and someone that I would like to have on my sideline if it came to 2 offensive type of an offensive game, because this is kind of what happened last season. Last season was very high scoring, with USC arguably having a worse team, and Notre Dame eventually going to the national championship last season. This Notre Dame defense really needs to show up if they want to win this game, because I think that the U.S. offense is able to show multiple looks and have a balanced pass and rush game. Can Carr really do it? I think that the team's really going to have to be on his shoulders. I don't know how this defense is going to combat USC, and because of that, I'm going with USC. I should have gone with them last week. I changed my mind, but I'm going with number 20, USC, beating Notre Dame. Notre Dame's playoff chances done, and USC, we're sitting here and saying, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right here. USC's actually got something going. And I think that's what they're going to have coming down the stretch, because we can't forget they're having a really good recruiting class this season. And I think that Lincoln Riley knows that, and he knows that they need this win against a ranked team, a team that everyone knows through name, image, and likeness. And he needs this win to continue that trail going for recruiting. Now, with our top 4 games out of the week, let's look at some notable games of the week. So on Friday, yes, a Friday game in the notable games list, of course, it's a notable game in my opinion. And that notable game is Friday at 6 p.m. Louisville at number 2 Miami. Now, as much as I would like to say Miami could be in danger based on their past performances, have been amazing. They have shown us that they are dominant, and they are one of the best teams, if not the best, in the ACC. This Louisville team is good, and they lost a good game against Virginia in their last game going into overtime. And Louisville, I thought, was going to pull it out, but weren't able to. But Miami isn't the same defense as Virginia or have a turnover-prone quarterback. Carson Beck doesn't need to really do anything crazy in this game than just play solid football, because the run should be the more dominant strategy, I think, for the Miami offense, with the Louisville defense not being as strong as their passing defense. Miller Moss, though, he has to play like the recruit he was promised to be coming out of high school, because the Miami pass defense is 35th in the nation, and the only defensive ranking for them outside of that is none. That is the only one that is outside the top 16 in the nation for allowing points scored, allowing rush, and allowing just yards overall per game. So this Miami defense, it's unlike any other defense in the ACC. And I got a feeling that Miami's going to steamroll them. I think Miami wins this because they are just more disciplined when it comes to penalties and commit less turnovers while also taking them in the defense category. Miami is just playing a complete brand of football, complete style. I think that they deserve the number 2 spot in the nation. I think Ohio State still separating themselves from everyone else, but I think this number 2 Miami is legitimately number 2. And then 11 a.m. now, we're on Saturday. We're on Saturday now. 11 a.m., number 12, Georgia Tech at Duke. So as of now, the only ranked matchup left on Georgia Tech's schedule is Georgia, the last week of the regular season. But I was sitting down and thinking, could this game possibly pose a difficult matchup for Georgia Tech? Duke has been displaying a much more explosive offense led by Darian Mensah, who currently leads the ACC in passing yards, but in my opinion has done against weaker opponents than Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech just plays a more complete style of football. And who is leading that complete style of football? Well, it's Haynes King and Brent Key. Haynes King being the quarterback and Brent Key the head coach for Georgia Tech. And they don't play games the prettiest or kind of dominate, but what do? They still get the win, which is big nowadays with the playoff. I think this game could be another potential roadblock for Georgia Tech's chances to get to the ACC championship and playoffs, but I think it's only going to be just a block. I think they're going to absolutely rush through it. I think they do a great job at controlling the time of possession in games and can perfectly combat an explosive quarterback and offense like Darian Mensah for Duke in this game to allow them to slow the pace of play, allow them to keep their defense rested, and allow them to just limit how many times they can get torched. And I'm going to bring up the Duke-Illinois game a while ago. When I'm watching the game, like the third quarter, when it seemed like Duke was like still in it and not like down by a lot, I personally saw the stadium get empty and I saw the fans at Duke quit during that Illinois game. And if Georgia Tech can do the same at kind of just getting ahead and looking like they can dominate, especially through rushing and the accurate pass of Haynes King put on display, I think that they can easily make these fans quit and immediately have Duke lose that advantage over them. I think this Georgia Tech team, I'm just going to say it outright, they get a big win here by dominating the line of scrimmage. And I think that I don't think that it's very true, but the talks of Manny Diaz being a potential Penn State hire may be just taking away from the team's full concentration, even though I don't think he would go to the Penn State job. I don't think Manny Diaz is high enough caliber for someone like Penn State, but who knows? And then 3:15 p.m., Mississippi State at Florida. I think in this game, more people are actually interested about Billy Napier and if he's going to be fired than the actual game at hand. And yes, I've seen all the rumors about how he probably won't last the week and he's already headed out and there's inside sources and yada, 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 different reports and all this. Well, guess what? Nobody knows if he's going to get fired for sure, because it's not in their control. They can hear all the rumors and everything. I'm not going to report rumors like that. If it's a rumor, I'm going to give my thoughts on the rumor, but I'm not going to report a stupid rumor because no one knows at the end of the day. So I'm not going to lose sleep over whether or not I'm right about Billy Napier getting fired from Florida or not. Because who cares about a 2-4 team right now? Mississippi actually does, because they're going in there and possibly getting him fired, which would be hilarious in my opinion. But let's get to the game. This Mississippi State team has played a lot more consistent than Florida has all season, but Napier's job is supposedly on the line. So he may just look like prime Nick Saban coaching out there. But for Mississippi State, Blake Shapen has commanded their air raid offense to a T and really has the momentum this season on their side going into the football game. The Florida defense just genuinely needs to give Lagway multiple opportunities to lead the offense down the field, and they can do that by getting sacks and quarterback pressures against Blake Shapen, as this Mississippi State team is bad at defending the quarterback and ranked around 112 in allowing sacks. So this is a perfect game for the Florida defense to come up big, help Lagway, and possibly win the game. And I know it's tough to play in the swamp, but I like Mississippi State. I like Jeff Lebby, their head coach. And I think that this is more of a gut feeling for me. I'm going with Mississippi State. I think all the rumors and everything really are just super detrimental to the Florida team, to the fan base, to the head coach. But who knows? Maybe Billy Napier's like, gosh, come on, please just give me my $26 million already. But yeah, I'm picking Mississippi State in this game. I think this would be a great win for the Bulldogs, Jeff Lebby, and Blake Shapen, and kind of Jeff Lebby saying, hey, we can beat these SEC opponents. Hey, we are here, and the future of Mississippi State is now. And then we get to another SEC game. And you're probably at this point saying, God, he's got a lot of SEC games up there. Well, yeah, because the SEC is dominating these ranked matchups this week. The SEC is just taking it over. And it's not SEC bias. It's not Southeastern confidence. It's me just looking at the games through on the chart. I'm just looking at the games on the schedule, on the TV schedule, and I'm just giving you the ones that I am personally going to watch, the games that I think are going to be the best to watch. So that out of the way, I just wanted to dispel any people who are weary, wary, or all of the above. But 6:45 p.m. on Saturday, number 16 Missouri at Auburn. Both teams are coming off a devastating loss in this one, but one team still has a chance to make the playoffs, while the other has a chance to fire their head coach. And I'll get to that in a minute. Why I am bringing that up. But outside of that, both quarterbacks need to play better than last week for these teams. Bo Prabula didn't play very bad, but he finally had like a big test in a game and was average to say the most against a strong defense. And the saying, say the least. No, say the most, he was average. Jackson Arnold, on the other hand, boy, oh boy, he has the worst pass efficiency rating in the SEC. Just going to take a sip of water as you think about that. The worst pass efficiency rating in the SEC. This is for all my Auburn fans out there. So, yeah, no, he's just been doing bad. But Amon Hardy for Missouri needs to come back because Alabama shut him down. He needs to be effective against his Auburn team because he was only limited to 52 yards last week against Bama. And after all of the shortcomings from the Alabama game, I think that this Missouri team should take Auburn as a perfect comeback to gain confidence against a great SEC defense, because Hugh Freeze has had a bad track record against ranked teams. Auburn under Hugh Freeze is currently 1 for 11 against ranked opponents and has been 5 of 14 against SEC opponents. What's interesting, though, is that Hugh Freeze has said he's sticking with Arnold, and Deuce Knight's name is nowhere to be heard as the Stanford transfer backup quarterback would go in over Deuce Knight. I think Deuce Knight would just be a great way to put him in, and if he does bad, then tell Auburn fans, hey, he's not good. That's why I'm not playing him, because all these Auburn fans are just going to be able to talk and say, oh, well, he could have put in Deuce. He could have put in Deuce. He could have put in Deuce. Kind of like how everyone was saying with Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning in the playoffs last year and last season, just overall. But I think the one thing that Auburn does have over Missouri for offense is that Arnold has yet to throw an interception this season compared to 5 for Pabula. And both offenses need to step up if this game is going to be crazy to watch. I think Auburn this season has been crazy to watch. Just no matter what happens on the field, something is always happening that is questionable, exciting, or just downright like, what? But I think a very interesting stat going into this game is that 5 coaches in the SEC have been fired after losing to Missouri since they joined the conference in 2012. I think Missouri is going to beat Auburn at home. I don't think Hugh Freeze is going to get fired, but who knows? The statistic is there, and I put it up for a reason for y'all. But our last notable game for the week, 7 p.m., number 23 Utah and number 15 BYU. As this rivalry is dubbed the Holy War. And if you know anything about the Holy War, it's that the fans do everything in their power to act unholy. I know Urban Meyer has made a lot of comments about this rivalry saying, those BYU students shouldn't be saying all those nasty things that they say to me and their players. But this is going to be a matchup between ranked opponents this year for the first time in this rivalry since 2009. And in this rivalry, Utah leads the series overall 62-36 and 4 ties. I think Utah straight up is going to give this BYU team something to really pray about after the game, because I think this BYU team is a bunch of frauds. I think this is the biggest fraudulent top 25 team that is currently in the absolutely preposterous poll, and we'll get to more on that later in the episode. But I think BYU is a bunch of frauds. The BYU team has currently played 3 teams with a losing record, 2 at 500, and 1 with a winning record. 1 team with a winning record, and that's Arizona that they played last week. BYU has a freshman quarterback, Bear Brockmeyer, who has played well, but I don't think they have played a true test for this offense. And I just think that this defense for Utah is something completely different than they have seen up to this point in the season. BYU had some crazy finishes down the stretch last season. I don't think BYU is even close in this one. I think this is just a nasty, nasty win for Utah. And if Utah or if BYU proves me wrong, then I'm wrong that they were frauds. But right now, I'm still going to say that they are frauds because they have not played anyone. But that completes our notable games of the week. So now we got to go into some Week 8 news. And the biggest one, James Franklin has been fired. I usually have my phone and all my notifications turned off when I record the podcast so it doesn't distract me or just goes off randomly. But I wish I did last Sunday because he got fired during the show. That would have been fun to break live. Maybe we'll see that change in the future. But yes, James Franklin was fired after 12 seasons with the Penn State Nittany Lions. James Franklin is gone. But is it a negative, really? Because he gets paid $49 million. Like I said earlier at the beginning of the episode, I think that a fired head coach is probably the best job title financially, but not reputation-wise if you haven't accomplished anything. But associate head coach Terry Smith will be the interim head coach. And unlike Petrino, with his regime change down in Arkansas, the AD has already said that the team won't make any coaching firings the rest of the season. And what's crazy is that, like, just 3 weeks ago, College Game Day was in town, and now James Franklin is out of town. I think when just Drew Aller suffered a season-ending injury and the team lost their third game after being one of the favorites to win it all this year, really just created a snowball that had to hit someone. And I think that with all the fans chanting "Fire James Franklin," the athletic department kind of said, well, we figured out who's getting the snowball. And I think the biggest thing is, how will he be remembered for his time at Penn State? I think it really does come down to how long until they see success again. Because when he was there, he was 4-21 against top 10 AP ranked opponents. I think the biggest thing for this program to look at right now for the rest of the season and their recruiting class and transfer portal class is really how the NIL money is impacted for the program. Because with the money that they are now having to pay Franklin, that's on top of the athletic department already committing $700 million for stadium renovations that will be completed in 2027. It's just a new era, and it's very interesting to see what happens with the money. And it'll be something really, we'll probably come back to it during the offseason when we hit 100 days until college football for 2026 and see where this Penn State team is with their recruits from this previous season to next season. And then there was another head coach. UAB head coach Trent Dilfer was fired. But I think what's more interesting is that this alum from that school, star wide receiver, Roddy White, has really expressed he wants the coaching job, like literally 30 minutes after he was fired. Will the school take him with the experience in the NFL and be able to appeal to younger recruits? That's the big question that comes to my mind when I first heard this. I think yes. I think UAB, it has one of the toughest markets to compete in. Alabama has so many good, I mean, you got Alabama and Auburn in the state, but you also have so many others like South Alabama, Troy, University of North Alabama. There are so many competing programs in the state. It's hard to vie for these recruits. So I think, yeah, an NFL star will translate well to recruiting in the NIL industry. And then another thing that I had mentioned previously before, I believe, during the offseason is, are we seeing the rise of star program players taking on head coaching jobs? I think yes. I think a lot of these colleges are willing to take on NFL players that were once stars that are now coming back and wanting to find love for the game. I think that more people are wanting that because recruits are going to resonate and be like, oh yeah, I remember like when I was super young, like you were a great player. I had your jersey and all that. I think it just adds a lot more appeal and could recruit some players in the future. But outside of that, let's get to the absolutely preposterous poll. And like I said, I still think Ole Miss is overrated, and I don't know how they didn't drop off at all after their performance in the Washington State University game. That just shows me that they really aren't watching the AP voters, which just really aren't. I'm going to say this straight up. Tennessee and LSU need to switch at least. I think Tennessee deserves to be ahead of LSU because I just think Tennessee is a better team than LSU. Wild things are happening this season for me to say that. And then Notre Dame, they continuously are beating up on these average teams, and their 13th ranking is a mixture of the poll being absolutely preposterous. And at this point, it just makes me feel like they're giving out a participation trophy to Notre Dame. And then BYU at 15, who have they played? seriously. Outside of Arizona, who have they played? They haven't played one ranked opponent, which I believe all the teams behind them, Missouri, Vanderbilt, Virginia, USF, USC, Texas, Texas. Yeah, we get all the way to Texas. That's 6 teams behind BYU that have better strength of schedules and are seemingly behind BYU. Well, BYU's undefeated. I genuinely don't care. Memphis is undefeated, and they're still at 22. So I don't know why we are allowing BYU to be up there. And then Nebraska at 25. This is just a small nitpick of me. I think Washington should be 25 instead of Nebraska, but that's just my opinion. But that's all my gripes and complaints about the AP poll. And then our closing category. Who's in the Heisman seat coming into this week? I personally have it as Fernando Mendoza. I know Ty Simpson really jumped up a lot after his performance at Missouri and is taking a lot of the media's attention, but I personally thought Mendoza showed so much poise in that Oregon game. He went into a tougher road environment than Ty Simpson. He played a top 5 team in the nation and helped the team win the game. He threw an interception, a pick 6, and it was kind of like, oh wow, the game's over and all that. The momentum has shifted. But what did he do? He led his team on a methodical drive and got a score. And because of that, I just felt like he really stepped up in a maturity level and a clutch time player level for Mendoza. So that's why I got him at my Heisman hype seat coming into this week. But that is the end of our Week 8 preview. We will be headed to Spring Hill College's campus tomorrow for a weekend full of events and rugby. So the recap show will be out on Monday. And for alumni weekend, took me about 3 weeks, but I did a bunch of research in the Spring Hill College archives. So I did a limited edition of Under Review. You can find it on Instagram, X, and our Facebook if you would like to give it a read. I had a lot of fun putting it together. It was a big passion project for me, and whoever reads it, I really hope you enjoy, because it was a lot of fun putting together, a lot of hard work to finally see it pay off. Very satisfying. And if you just want to learn a little bit of history about the oldest college in the state of Alabama, give it a read and some of the crazy things that have happened there athletically. But I'm Nick Watts. Thank all of you for tuning in to this episode of College Football Under Review. And we'll see you next time when we take more college football under review.